Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on today's LinkedIn Live. This is a bit of a test for us, actually, because it's Monday morning. It's 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. And I've got no idea whether anybody's ever going to turn up to a LinkedIn Live on a Monday morning. It's always interesting to see. So hopefully there's a few people out listening in today. And welcome for joining us. It's also the last day of the month as well. Probably a very interesting month for many people, especially with summer holidays kicking in and everything else. What we wanted to do is, as you know, we run these LinkedIn Lives regularly now. We're going to start running some more LinkedIn Lives where we're going to invite some of our experts, advisors, mentors from the Recruitment Network onto these sessions so we can basically get a bit of a sense on what's really going on in the market right now, what's working, what's not working, where people are getting it right, where people are getting it wrong, and so on and so forth. We're going to keep this to about 30 minutes, so not too long, and hopefully a good chance to kickstart your week and get you thinking about things to do, take into the summer. Joining me this morning, very, very good friend. I think one of the nicest people I know in the industry, one of the nicest people I know just generally, Samantha Maxwell Reid, over 32 years, sorry Sam, I had to say it, 32 years experience working in the recruitment sector, predominantly founder and group managing director of Expand Executive Search, which Samantha exited last year. So wonderful to have you here, Sam. Sam's also a non-exec director and one of our advisors and mentors working with a lot of the TRN members as well. So Sam, really great to join us today. Thank you for taking some time out on a Monday morning. As I said, probably a wet and cold Monday morning. It's typically in English summer.
Indeed. Morning, James. Absolute pleasure to be here.
Brilliant.
So wet and grey.
Yeah, what is it? Standard, right? Let's go straight into it, because obviously what we wanted to really talk about today was the current state of the recruitment market, really, because obviously it's been pretty extraordinary, and I think I've been saying that probably about 20 years. It's really another extraordinary time, but the reality is it's quite an extraordinary time. If you were to sort of describe, I suppose, the recruitment market at the moment, how it is, maybe how that's changed over the last year or two, how would you sort of summarize the world of recruitment right now?
I think it's actually really positive. You know, it's been a very, very interesting 6 months. You know, we came out of 2 years, 21, 22 was just booming. And, you know, I think probably quite unexpected for a lot of us post-COVID. But this year has seen a rebalancing, a bit of, I would say, right sizing in the market. You know, you've only got to look at, you know, PitchBook said, you know, first half of this year, in VC investments been down 50%, and that ultimately has a knock-on effect to recruiting. And I'm seeing now things starting to come good again. So I think right now the outlook's positive.
Yeah, and if we look back at the last, let's say we'll just do it from the start of the year, from January. You know, I would describe it as if we've been in a bit of a state of flux as an industry. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people just trying to figure out, what's going on. You know, is the economy going up? Is it going down? Is it good, bad, ugly? But at the same time, I suppose, how do we navigate through these times? So should we stick with our long-term 3-year strategy plan? Should we change, adapt now? If you were to look at how, I suppose, recruitment businesses have navigated, let's go with the good, the bad, and the ugly, I suppose, over the last 6 months. What have people been doing, and how have they got through the last 6 months, which has been quite a tumolic, if that's even a word, time.
Turbulent.
Turbulent. Let's go with turbulent. Yeah, tumolic.
Let's go turbulent. Yeah, I think there's 2 key things, James, without a shadow of a doubt. I think those that have really dug deep and looked at their sales process and genuinely have realised that we're no longer order takers. We need to be much more proactive with our business development. So I think, you know, the ones that are getting it right are the ones that at the start of this year sort of reflected on their market, understood who their customer was, and have really ramped up their business development activities. I think that's the key thing. Secondly, though, I think it's been a really testing time for leaders. I think it's been really tough. You know, it's easy to be a great leader when you're celebrating lots of biggest ever first awards, you know, that's easy. But when you've got a workforce that are struggling with cost of living, uncertainty, change in their client world, change in their candidate world, that's tough. So, you know, I think the smart leaders, the ones I see, are the people who, you know, have been having difficult conversations, the ones that have faced the reality of needing to maybe trim their cost base and do it with compassion, and do it quickly. So I think, for me, sales and leadership, those are the two game changers.
Yeah, spot on. And I think one of the really interesting conversations that we've had loads of across the membership is around this whole piece around balancing, I suppose, being an empathetic leader, an inspirational empathetic leader, and also managing and generating a high performance culture. So,
Yeah.
and I've got to performance manage people right now more so than ever before. But I'm also conscious of the fact that that people are going through some challenging times, and it's difficult, it's harder, etc., etc. So, I think we've seen some successes around that. I mean, and don't get me wrong, we've had quite a lot of the members have had record months and record quarters and record half years. So this is not everybody, but I think the general status, I think you're absolutely right. The other piece around business development is. I think there's a word that we've used a lot of over the last sort of few months in particular about sales engines.
Yeah.
So rather than people panicking and just doing BD, they've sort of taken a bit of a step back and built sales engines. Have you felt that? Has that been something that you've been trying to push across to people you advise?
Yeah, and I think the old, as you said, James, 30 odd years of experience. In my day when I started, when the earth was cooling, you did just pick up the phone and ask for jobs, and you just did that enough, you would get jobs. And that just isn't current. That isn't valid as a sales strategy. For me, a sales engine is really the ability to look at, where is hot in our space and stay, what's that expression? Inch wide, mile deep in a market that you're known for, where you have genuine value to add to your clients. You can talk to your clients with real knowledge and share your insights about their world. And I think that's what the smart guys are doing. But having the ability to recognize that perhaps the people in your business that were order takers will need time to adjust. If you're moving their role into being more 360 when perhaps they were 120 or 160 previously, recognizing that takes time and energy and training to get people, to adjust to a different world. So I think those are, when we say sales engine, it's about knowing where you're going, but making sure you've got the people who can do it.
Yeah, but that's the challenge, right? So we've got to nurture people to become BD focused, and that takes a bit of time and a bit of everything else. But yet some people are running out of time because they're hemorrhaging cash or they haven't got the job flow coming through, etc. So there's a real balance there, isn't there, as a leader, of basically how long do you hold out for, in essence, with some of these people? It's like the old question: how long do you performance manage someone when they're underperforming for? Is it 30 days? Should it be 4 weeks? Should it be 90 days, etc.? So what are you suggesting to people around that sort of, I suppose, almost like that holding out piece around? We know the markets are going to turn, so it's worth investing in your people now to get them ready.
Yeah, I think if your balance sheet allows, you need to hold on to your good people, and it will have taken you so long to find them. So let's not knee jerk. But at the same time, it goes back to what I said. You need to understand what is the right structure for your market. What does your sales engine need? What is the resource? Is it going to be far more sales heavy than delivery heavy that perhaps it has been historically? And then it's about making those tough decisions quickly. I think, to answer your question though, James, I think it's about understanding what performance is. And I think so many recruiters don't really, or recruitment leaders haven't always been clear with what does good look like? What do I need my people to be achieving operationally that will lead to performance? So what are the golden KPIs? What are the indicators that will tell me these people are going to come good? So I think before you can make those decisions, it can't be just 4 weeks or 4 months, or, as long as your heart can bear it and your bank balance can wear it. I think it has to be, okay, who can do this? Who has the skill? And, giving them every support to get there. But you need to know what good looks like first, basically. Yeah,
absolutely. I want to come back to that in a second, actually. You're touching on a point that I've got this really interesting question mark that's been going around my head now for months, is that the industry's changed. It's a different industry than certainly from what it was 18 months ago, let's just say, and will probably be different again in 6 months, 12 months time. And we're very much focusing on, what does the next 6, 12, 18 months look like? And how do you set your stall up now to be fit for purpose for that? Do you think, looking ahead at what the industry is becoming, do you think we have the right skills generally in recruitment at the moment for the types of businesses we need to become in 12 months time? Or do you think there's a fundamental lack of the types of people we need right now for tomorrow's recruitment company?
Yeah, that's such a key question, isn't it? I love it, James. I think something we really all need to get our heads around is the use of automation and technology. And, I work with some really smart members who have recognized that the tools that the tech stack available to them can be a game changer. And what they've also realized is that has a knock-on effect to what the internal teams actually do as a job. So, buying bits of smart tech should not just add to your cost base. What it should do is free your people up to do more of the rapport building, engaging, networking, selling, for want of a better word. Not replace it, but to enable them and free them up. So I think, where we need to be going in the future, and what will be that tech isn't going away. That tech is only going to make our lives from a back office and a research perspective easier and hopefully more seamless. But actually what we need to do is to think, okay, so what does that mean for our headcount? And, unfortunately there will be casualties, but hopefully for the right people, it's going to make our world more interesting. So yes, are there more jobs, or is there more demands? I think, yes, marketing. I work for some, great members who've invested heavily in marketing in the last 6 months, because they realize that actually what they want to do is fill their sales funnel through great high quality content led marketing. So, the days of pretty pictures on your post, not so much. Real thought leadership, sharing data and insights. Yeah, absolutely. So I think marketing, lots of good investment there. I think, operations has gone from being the people who may be processing invoices and, schmooze a CV to get it ready to go out to a client. Operations now is really understanding the journey of a candidate and a client and all the touch points and engagement with our firm and then our team. What are they doing as well? How does the tech change what they're doing? So, sorry, James, really long ramble, but I hope that kind of...
No, not at all. I think it's spot on. I mean, we've got this really cool thing happening at the moment. And for those of you who are on the call who are TRN members, you'll know about what we're up to with Createch. But which is basically where we're building out an entire recruitment company, which is tech, completely no humans whatsoever, to then identify where we can plug humans back in onto the process to get more out of them. And we look at technology as not a replacement for recruiters at all, but we look at it as a way of basically creating more human relationships. So if I can give 30% of a recruiter's time back to them because I've automated a bunch of their stuff, that 30% must be translated into more client meetings, more face-to-face stuff with etc. The stuff that actually makes the big difference. And we always talk about relationship building and that sort of stuff. So I think that's really exciting. It does go into a piece though. So when we look at the last 12 months, I suppose, and I've been using this word loads, and I always get like this. I get into a frame of mind. I stick my hat on it and stick with it for like 3 or 4 months religiously, and I keep repeating it. But this word optimization is something that we've been pushing really hard. I think a lot of how I see this differently from maybe a COVID period or a recessionary period that we've been in before, where it's been about cost cutting and it's been about stripping out and that type of stuff. I think the thinking is should be very different now, and certainly the companies I'm seeing who are really doing well at the moment haven't focused on stripping and cutting. They've looked at optimizing instead. So looking at every part of their business, processes, systems, people, tech, data, everything, and going, how do I squeeze more ROI out of all the little things or the people that I've got within my business, as opposed to how do I cut out stuff? What are your thoughts around this optimization piece and this concept of taking what you've got and doubling the capacity and doubling the return on investment that with what you've already paid for, basically?
Yeah, James, I'm with you. Spot on. Yeah, 100%. There's some super talented people in our industry, super talented. And, we need to use the tech to enable them to do more of that brilliant stuff. So again, I think it comes back to what I said earlier. For me, it's about what does good look like, though? What are we expecting people to do? Is it about number of meetings? Is it about, interviews? Is it about, sitting on panels at events? What are we actually asking our people to do? And I think that is the bit that we really need to get right. What does optimal performance look like? If you want a performance culture, what do you need your people to be doing? And I think that's the one piece we really need to make sure we get right as we go through this journey of change.
Definitely. And that part of that will then link into this expectations piece that you talked about before, about what good looks like. Because actually, if you are a super optimized recruiter running a super optimized desk, the expectations of what good looks like has shifted, right? So, you may have been a recruiter 2 years experience and we'd expect to get 140 to 160k GP out of you in year 2 on a super optimized desk with all that tech support and resourcing and offshoring that you've got to help you. Surely now good looks like 230, 240k. So there's a really interesting play there about, again, this goes back into that piece around being an empathetic leader and a high performing culture. I'm an empathetic leader, but guess what? I've just now increased your target by another 60% because we're going to make you better and give you more systems and processes to be better. And I love that as a concept, but I think a lot of people are scared to grasp that or scared to embrace it almost.
Yeah, but that all comes back to being a great communicator, right? And I think, so vital that leaders talk to their teams. It's not just about, I'm buying you this shiny bit of tech, we're getting this amazing bot, we're getting something that's going to make your job easier. It's about communicating to the team. The world of recruitment is changing. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And this is, what your role looks like. So it should be more than just, I want more revenue from you. It has to be in the context of, and actually I think recruiters would be super excited. If someone had said to me, you don't have to deal with all that labor intensive, admin oriented activity. Someone's, a bit of tech is going to take all that away from you. And you can therefore maybe bill 30% more than you did previously. I'd have been all over it, James. I'd have been happy as Larry. I'd have been seeing pound signs.
But I agree. But this is a cultural thing, right? Because if we take away too much from the recruiters and automate it, then we are potentially at risk, in theory, of making recruiters lazy. Yeah. So I've now got a recruiter who's, let's say, an average performer, doing 160k GP consistently, more or less, ups and downs, but right 160k. And I'm now going to basically take away 25% of their workflow. I'd expect to get an extra 200, and I expect to get over 200 grand GP uplift from those people. I wouldn't expect them to be cruising at the same rate.
Yeah.
So then my targets, my minimum standards, my expectations have to change. I have to communicate that to them. So they go, look, if we're going to do this, I want to see a return on investment. Mm-hmm. And otherwise it's just, I'm making your job easier for the sake of it. It doesn't make sense. But then on the flip side of that, we also need to think about commission structures. So how we reward people, because if I'm rewarding people, paying them the same amount of commission that they were earning 5 years ago for generating the same amount of GP, although I've now increased my cost because I've done a load of automation or anything else, that GP pound per pound or dollar for dollar is actually worth less to me. So surely my commission structures must have changed in this new world to be able to get the same return on investment I was getting 18 months ago, 3 years ago.
Oh, that's a touchy one, isn't it? I mean, I think that depends on your scale, right? Mm-hmm. If you're probably, sub 30 heads, you probably do need to be thinking, very carefully on what your cost distribution looks like. But I think, once your turnover is probably over 2-3 million, it's less of a question for me. I think the issue is more, are we rewarding salespeople, or are we rewarding delivery people? Where's the real work? And I think, we probably in the last few years, because we have been order takers as an industry largely, it's not been a challenge to win business, that we've possibly been over generous. So I think now we need to be, in this new world, we need to be thinking, okay, well, you're right, James, that's one factor. One factor is I've freed you up. Does that mean I tweak my commission scheme for the salespeople? Are we actually making delivery easier? So therefore we need to make the commission for those people change. I think there's lots and lots of factors, lots and lots of factors. And it's hugely emotive, right? So, not just is your target going up, but, what are you earning on the back of this? So...
Yeah, well, and again, this is where leadership plays a massive. I mean, we as leaders, we're being tested, right? Because we've got to think about strategy. We've got to think about holding our nerve. We've got to think about, okay, well, that £1 million of cash reserves that I created during the post-COVID boom is now whittling away a little bit, and I'm using that to hold out because the market's turning again. I want to make sure I've still got people in place ready to go for it. It is an emotive time as a leader, and I think that's a big challenge, which is why. Yeah, as you know, a lot of the leadership programs that we're running across TRN at the moment for the members is a lot of it is about how do you do this properly right now? because ultimately this is, and I think what we're also seeing at the moment, I would say, is probably quite a lot of leaders being exposed that actually they probably don't have the skills to be a good leader in this market. They're probably really good in a boom market, as you said. I'll keep doing the happy clapping and we'll go to Vegas and all that type of stuff. But but going through this type of stuff is a real test for some leaders. And I think, and I'm not talking about owners necessarily. I'm talking about billing managers and everything else and that sort of thing. So I think that's the challenge. I think we might see a bit of a shift, or people putting their hands up saying, actually, I'm done with leadership. I might go back to being a biller, and that's it. Thanks very much. Potentially.
Yeah. No, and I think, James, you're absolutely right. We're all pretty savvy to the fact that we need to invest in our people. Everybody gets that the people are the value of a recruitment company. But hey, don't forget yourself. You need to be investing in yourself all the time. And that was one of the things I've always loved about recruitment, is it is always evolving. It is always changing. We do need to constantly be learning. And if you don't have a growth mindset, you're probably not set for this world.
Definitely. No, agreed. Let's talk about that then. So again, one of the questions that, we've been looking at, and, I've been talking to people about, is people saying, well, what's the biggest mistake that people are making right now or have made, therefore don't make it again, and that type of stuff. And one of the things that we said to a lot of people is that you had a 3-year business plan that you wrote 12 months ago. You're still trying to stick to it today, when actually the world's probably a little bit different. So there's nothing wrong with reforecasting, re-strategizing and everything else. So, one of the mistakes that we've seen is about people basically trying to stick to this thing that they built and not being agile enough. And some people can't because of the size of their business potentially. But, certainly for the SME recruitment business owner, the ability to be agile, to change the strategy now. If you were looking forward, let's go. How far are we allowed to look forward these days? I've got no idea. I'll start with a week, but let's go with next 6 months, going towards the back end of the year. What would you be suggesting to people they should be really focusing on for the next 6 months, certainly, knowing what you're seeing in the market, about how the markets are changing and all these shoots that we're seeing and all sorts of stuff?
Yeah, I think... Please, if you haven't got your head out the sand, get your head out the sand and really start focusing on this stuff. I think on an internal basis, cash management is absolutely key, James, because you're right. There's nothing more soul destroying than working darn hard and your management accounts show you've made a loss. That is not fun. So cash management, absolutely key. All the old school stuff around credit control and understanding what your cash flow position looks like. For contract heavy businesses, that is such a lovely model. But at the same time, if your debtor days are growing, probably your cost of borrowing is growing as well. So, getting on top of that, vital. And then I think being really, really clear, are you in the right market? Are you in, there's sectors that I recruited in that I'm, really passionate about, and I've got lovely networks in, but they're not where the growth is. So I think understanding, where are we going to be known? Where are we going to be playing as a business, where with a go-to recruiter, we can talk confidently and, going back to what I said, this inch wide, mile deep knowledge and really building that, whether you're using tools to maintain your CRM and your data, and you're really using tools to, enhance and manage your communities. But at the same time, I think, this focus on business development in your space, not being distracted. I think there's been a lot of fear, and that's led to people just grabbing anything that's out there. Actually, stick to the knitting. Let's be sure we know what that business plan says, and let's stick with that plan.
Yeah, and I will say, by the way, anybody who's listening live to this, if you've got any questions, feel free to ping them through to us, and we'll pass them out to Sam before we close off in sort of 5 minutes. The bit about sort of not getting distracted and staying focused, I think that's a really important thing here. I always see this when you have a market change and a cycle change, is that the vanity projects start kicking in. So people start, right, I'm going to redo my website and I'm going to do this. And it's like, now's not the time, surely, to be doing some of those things. And not for everyone, obviously, depending on where your business is. But if your business is really, really struggling at the moment from a job flow point of view and everything else, now is the time to ignore all the vanity projects, ignore almost focusing at top level and focusing at the bottom level. So, revenue GP, less important. Profit, cash flow, far more important, and so on and so forth. So, so for me, I think those vanity projects need to absolutely go 100%. The bit I'm really interested in is we at TRN, we're growing, as you know, we're hiring more people, etc. We're super optimistic and super buoyant about where the market is going. I do think that when the markets are in this state of flux that we've been through, the opportunities that shoot out the back of this are huge, absolutely huge. So again, it's those recruitment businesses I think are holding their nerve right now and saying it's tough, but we're going to push on through and gear ourselves up ready to capture the second half of this year. Really excite me. If you were advising a recruitment, as you do, revising a recruitment business owner today and saying, okay, BD, all the stuff you've got to do, but should we be holding our nerve now? Should we just be cutting costs and hiding? Or should we be like, this is a once in a lifetime, once in a decade opportunity to take market share from maybe weaker recruitment businesses, to really embed ourselves closer with customers, etc. What's your advice to a recruitment business owner today around what you should be doing moving forward?
James, I agree with you entirely. And I've seen in the last, with the 30 odd recruitment companies I speak to quarterly, I've seen, a real uptake in job flow in the last 6 to 8 weeks. And that's fabulous. You're absolutely right. We are seeing the recovery now, and it is a great time. So, I think you're right. We should all have been reflecting on, are we in the right space? We should have been checking our business plan. You're right. I had a 5-year business plan, and then I realized that 5 years was way too long, and I brought it down to 3 years. And actually, I think 3-year goal, lovely. 3-year plan, lovely. But actually, your detail should be in your next 12 months, because that's generally what you can foresee and what you can prepare for. So, with that in mind, if you've done all those things and you have a really clear plan, it's be out there, get talking to people. I'm still seeing a real zest for face-to-face meetings. People are really enjoying sitting down and having meaningful conversations. So I think, if you've done all of the planning, where you want to play, get out in front of your customer, get out in front of your candidates, because those networks can't be replaced by tech. And I think that's where I'd be really focusing right now.
Brilliant. We're going to close off shortly, because like I said, we'll keep this to 30 minutes. I suppose I want to bring it back down into, we're excited, we're pushing people, we're saying go for it, now's the time to be able to do it. We've seen the successes over the last 6 months that the people who've been doing that have done really, really well the last 6 months, which is great. Yeah. So, but we've got to bring this back into now. I've got to walk into my office. It's now 9:30 on a Monday morning. It's slightly wet outside, middle of the summer in the UK, not as good as it should have been. Everyone's just a bit, market's a little bit tougher. I'm pushing harder. Culturally, as a leader, what am I going to do to get my team really fired up to say, actually, you're not just saying this because you're trying to get us pumped up. You're saying it because you really believe it, and we want to come on that journey with you. Mm-hmm. So advice to leaders now about how to get the team rallied behind this optimism and this buoyancy that we're seeing.
I think make it real, use data, get information, because you're right. We need it to be a credible message that, we all want to be fun. We all want to be positive and motivational, but, put some reality behind it, get some data. And I think, it is about understanding that people are human. So it is a bit of a wet grey Monday morning out there, but let's talk to people like they're human beings. Let's not be too what's the word? Be authentic, I think, would be my advice. Let's be honest with people, get them fired up, give them meaningful objectives for the week, celebrate the small wins. If you have been through a difficult time, celebrate anything small that will lead to success, because that will encourage more of the right behaviors. And keep people true to the mission. Make sure you're telling your people what's going on and where the exciting opportunities are.
Yeah, it's interesting that if you created a blueprint of a boom recruitment market, the things you just described, but the 10 things you must do, you just described them. If you describe those in a completely buggered up marketplace, it'd be exactly the same thing. It's the same stuff. We've been saying this for 20 years, right? Nothing changes. And I know I was talking to Gordon earlier, we were sort of saying like, everything feels like it's changed, and yet nothing's actually changed, or vice versa. Nothing's actually changed. Everything feels like, and the reality is, as long as you stick to our knitting, as you described it, and you stick to the stuff that we know works, empathetic leadership, business development strategy, optimize your business, less of the vanity projects, more of the stuff that drives cash generation and that sort of thing. All the stuff you should be doing in any marketplace, you will succeed in this market and you will capture market share. So big opportunity. Sam, are you positive about the markets post-summer?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think we should be all gunning for it.
Awesome. Fantastic. Sam, as always, lovely to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. I know you've got a busy week ahead. Those of you joining us live today, thank you so much. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, let us know. If you're not a member of TRN, come and join the community. We'd love to welcome you into the community and love to help you with what we're doing. But have an amazing week. Opportunity out there. Finish off the month on a high. And we'll see you for next LinkedIn Live very soon. Thanks so much. And Sam, once again, thank you.
Bye.
Great to see you. Bye.